Hello, and ooh, we are live. How exciting! Hello, and welcome to Upcycling with your Serger today. I'm Anastasia, also a part of SewAnastasia. We're my design studio here behind me. So today we are going to be taking garments and merging them together and using our serger to do it. If you guys have any questions along the way, just go ahead and ask those questions in the chat box and they'll get filtered to me and I will be happy to answer them. So it could be machine settings, it could be fabrics, it could be technique, it could be any question at all. So don't be shy to ask questions today. So the first thing we are going to do today is take two t-shirts and we are going to merge them together and make them into one new shirt. So behind me here, I have a t-shirt that I did a design with where we put this swiggle design going up to the side of it. We're going to keep it a little simpler today. We're just going to do some straight lines. So first we want to feel comfortable merging two shirts together with some straight lines. So what I like to do is take my shirts and I'm going to lay them on top of each other. So we are going to line up the shoulders. That is my favorite way to start this because your shirts can be all different sizes. So what do we do, right? Because when we're thrifting or going through our closet, we are probably not going to find the same brand with the same size. Even this one's got a raglan sleeve design. This one has just like a regular armhole. So we are going to lay these on top of each other at the shoulder, line them up. And I've already hemmed them. I've already like cut them off where I want them to be. So that way I know they're at least going to be the same length. So now what I can do is go ahead and I can cut my design into this shirt. It could be a wavy line. It could be a straight line. It could be an angled line. It can be anything that your heart desires, really, because this is a fun, creative process. So I've got both t-shirts layered up on top of each other. And now we are going to take our scissors and we are going to cut that design. I'm going to go for it. Let's do it. Okay, here we go. Woo! Now we have separate pieces of both shirts here. Check that out. Pretty cool, huh? So now we want to get, if you want to get the same shape on the other side, we're going to lay these pieces on top as templates, little pattern pieces, so that way they are the exact same amount. Otherwise, you could totally make an asymmetrical shirt. That works too. So let's go ahead, lay these out on top on the other side. So first I'm going to start with the pink one. I'm going to lay this one on top. Okay, so now I have two separate pink pieces, and now we are going to do the blue one. Make sure your side seams are nice and flat. If your shirt's feeling bubbly, you could always iron your seams as well, so everything is just really nice and flat for you. So now we're going to lay this one on top. The fun thing about merging the shirts is every time you do it, you basically get two new shirts that are opposites of each other. I kind of like to call them BFF shirts. It's like, you know, those necklaces that merge together, like the little hearts or yin yangs and stuff like that. It's like that, but with shirts. Okay, so now we are going to cut the blue one. Okay. And now we have a blue center and we can add pink sides to it, or we can do the opposite. Let's go ahead and do the one with the pineapple in the middle because I think that's super fun, upside down pink pineapple. And let's add these blue sleeve and side panels to it. So basically we're gonna end up with this merged together shirt, and then I want to do a baby rolled hem or maybe a lettuce hem at the bottom in a fun blue contrast. So the nice thing about going straight through the shirt like this is that we can take the pieces and serge a straight line. So we are going to flip your right sides together. And then I'm going to clip these together. Always remember, no pins in that serger. You'll ruin that blade. And today I'm going to be using the Amber Air 600 for the 4-thread serge, and then I have the baby rolled hem set up on the Amber 400. So we're just going to work our way around this shape. So now I'm up here at the shoulder. Just make sure you're lining up your edges as you go. And if one shirt stretches out a little more while you're serging it together, or maybe you misclipped or something, the nice things about these projects is that they are forgiving. You could totally just hem your shirt a little bit more, even it out after. So many clips. Okay, we've made it to the end. Everything looks like it's lining up really nice. Our 2 layers of fabric are there at the end. So now we are going to pop over to the serger here, and we are going to serge these 2 pieces together. And just like that, we're going to have a whole new side of the shirt. It is going to be so gratifying. I'm going to be using a white serging thread today, so you can see a contrast. Now, it doesn't matter what side you start on, whether it's the small panel side or the front panel of the shirt. Just make sure you have everything nice and lined up with your blade there. Put it in before the needles, put down your foot, and we are good to go. It's always a good idea, too, to test out your fabrics, especially the knits, on the scraps first, if you have any, because they might need adjusting with the tension, especially the differential feet. You want to make sure that everything's looking nice and flat and that you're not getting any waving, any scrunching, etc. A lot of times the jersey likes to roll up too, so go ahead and flatten that out. Make sure it's not rolling. I also have 2 different types of fabric that I'm serging together, and they're going together really well, I gotta say. Okay, we're almost at the end here. Okay, now let's check out this side. This is the cool part. Look at that. We've got a blue sleeve on the side of this shirt. It is already transforming here for us. So now we're going to go ahead and put on the other one. The fun thing about this too is you don't just have to put 2 style lines in it. You can go ahead and cut like 10 different style lines in it. You can also give it like this patchwork look if you like. What kind of style lines would you guys cut into your t-shirts to make new designs with your serger? I would love to know. Also, if you feel really comfortable without clipping, you can totally just put your layers together and run them through the serger. So for the second side, I'm not going to clip it. I'm just going to hold my layers together and just run it right through the serger. So if you don't have it clipped, you just want to work your way every few inches, stop and realign, make sure everything's looking good. Especially now that we're working in a fully circular shirt, we want to make sure we're not getting anything caught underneath, because then we'll cut a hole in it. That would be bad. Again, that jersey rolls, just flatten it out. You'll notice I like to take it and I put it over the side to flatten it out. I put it on the side of the sewing machine, flatten out that roll. Now we're back up the top of the sleeve, working our way down the other side. Okay, now we got a nice straight line. We're in the home run here. Okay, now is the sighting stuff. Let's see this. Ooh, we got a whole new shirt. We have an upside down pineapple shirt. How fun is that? But now we have the bottom that we need to finish, and I'm going to be doing the baby rolled hem here on the bottom. Looks like we got a question. Waves for an ocean themed t-shirt. Oh, that sounds really fun. How many shirts are you merging together? 2, 3, 4. Okay, so if you guys haven't tried the baby roll hem before, I just love it. I highly recommend it. Such a fun little stitch. It only takes 1 needle, 2 threads. You can even put a decorative thread in the lower looper, sorry, and get like a really fun thicker edge on it. I just did it on some socks the other day. Love the little detail on it, especially when you stretch it out, gives it a little lettuce hem. Today, I'm not going to do the lettuce hem though. I'm just going to do the regular little baby rolled hem. So I already have the serger set up. So let's go ahead, just run this through the serger, and then our new shirt is done. And we'll try it on the dress form, just like that. Okay, so it doesn't really matter where you start, but I always like to start at a side seam. So everything here is already nice and finished. I've got all my settings already set up. And we are just going to run this through to get a nice finished bottom. And if you guys have a cover stitch machine, you could definitely cover stitch the bottom of your t-shirt to hem it. We're coming up to a little spot where it's a little uneven, so I'm just going to chop off that little extra chunk. I've got some thick seams in here from the shirt that was already made, so I'm going to give it a little extra pull when I get there. There we go. again, right here, a little uneven with our upcycle, so we're just gonna chop that off. That's the magic of the serger. I love that you can even out a hem and serge and finish it at the same time. Okay, right back where we started. Overlap your stitches. I like to overlap them by about a 1/2 inch. Then hold it out of the way and serge off. Go ahead and cut. And let's take a look. Okay, check that out. New beach shirt. Oversized look. The oversized look is so in, you guys, right? Here, let's try it on the dress form. We need our plus size dress form for that one, but we got it on there. There we go. Super fun. We got that really fun paneling here at the side. Love it. One thing about the serger too is you can take things in really easy, especially like t-shirts and knitwear stuff. If we wanted to take this in, we could literally like clip how much we want to take in and just like run it through the serger and take it in like that. It is so fast. I love it. But you know, we're going to leave this one as it is. I think it looks good. Super fun. Okay. So next we are going to move on to switching out the sleeves. So this one back here has the sleeves switched on it. So we have a sweater body and we have woven sleeves. So this one's all about sewing the knit to a woven and how to handle it and how to work with it, because it can be a little different because you don't want to have too much woven fabric and not enough knit fabric, etc. Especially when you're just cutting apart a few different garments and merging them together. Some things could arise. They could not line up right. So let's go over all the things that could happen and how to avoid them. Let me grab my samples real quick. Okay, so today we're going to be merging together plaid shirt. And then we have a tan cardigan here. So I think these go together really well. And so we are going to make one shirt, or basically we can make 2 shirts, just opposites, BFF shirts out of these 2. So let's see, I did knit with the woven. So let's do opposite for this one. Let's do the knit sleeves on the woven shirt. That sounds cozy, right? I think so. So the first thing we're going to want to do is end up cutting off the sleeves. So let's cut these sleeves off. Yeah, I will go over the machine settings for using the knit and woven combo. That was a question that just came up. So I will do that definitely. I always like to start out too with like some standard settings and then test it out and see what it's doing and how it's acting. And then I'll make my adjustments accordingly. I'll definitely keep talking about that. Okay, so cutting into a knit can be really scary, right? We don't want it all to unravel. So instead of chopping through both layers, I'm going to work my way through one layer at a time. And it's best if you start here on the inside so you can really see where this was put together. Not all knits are made the same. This one looks like the pieces were knit and then they were basically sewn together, but with the same yarn. So these were not a cut and sew knit. But I'm going to cut right where we see this bulky seam here. I'm going to cut it apart. Okay, there we go. So when you're doing this, just don't pull because we don't want the knit to come unraveled, which it definitely can if it's a big open sweater weave like this. If you've got, you know, like a t-shirt knit or something like that, it's not going to start unraveling on you, but these big open sweater knits definitely can. Yeah, you can see the shoulder seam right here. Underarm seam just really wants to start popping apart there. So it is possible that we might need to serge that together before we even think about merging these two together. Okay, I've got a thick seam here. Just go ahead, cut right through it. Woo, did it. So be careful. And now we have this gorgeous sleeve, this little cable knit going down the top of it. Love it. Okay, so you can see that knit starting to fall apart here. So be real careful. Now let's grab our woven shirt and let's cut one of the arms off. Let's just do one arm first, see where we get, see what kind of questions we have. So now already I can tell that my knit sleeves, yes, they stretch, but my knit sleeves are looking smaller than the armhole of this woven shirt. So we have a few options here. We can stretch it to fit into this armhole, or what we can do is we can take in the shirt to make it fit the sleeve. So you've got two things you can do here when you're upcycling. And just like the t-shirts, you know, you're more than likely never really going to find two of the exact same armholes, right? So this one, I'm going to take it in. So I am going to grab my chalk pen here, and I'm going to mark right here where I think the shirt roughly needs to be taken in, folded it in half, and I just kind of walked it along. And because this isn't it, there's going to be a little give in here. There's going to be a little bit of play and freedom for making it fit, but I need to have a rough fit. So right here, got my chalk mark. Now I can cut off my sleeve. Again, go through one layer. Your armholes are generally different sizes, front to back. Okay, there we go. So now we have that sleeve off. We've got a new sleeve, but now our dilemma is making them fit together. Remember, you've got those options. If you are upcycling too, you might want to take in the shoulders. I just bought a shirt that I thought looked good. So this one here is an extra large. And I know if I'm making this for me, that my shoulder length from the neck over is 5 inches. So I can go ahead, put this on my mat here and mark over 5 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I know that my armhole, if I'm making this for myself, needs to change. This here would be my sewing line, and that I could redraw the shape of the armhole. So I'll grab a French curve real quick, and we're going to redraw the shape of this armhole. And you are going to need to redraw the shape of the armhole for the front and the back. So we are taking it in 5 inches at the shoulder on the front and on the back, so it's not just going to come in on the front of the armhole. This also will change the armhole size. Just like that, we've got French curves. Okay, so now when you are using a French curve, the straight part of the French curve is going to match up at the shoulder, and the curve goes towards the bottom of the armhole. And if your French curve isn't long enough to reach all the way, you can do it a little bit at a time and work your way down. So even if I went like this, okay, this is my spot where I'm going to be taking it in. You're always coming straight out from the underarm. That always wants to be a 90-degree angle for at least a 1/2 inch. And then we are going to blend up to that shoulder. Okay, and that would be, good to see on there, that would be my sewing line. So we want to add a little extra here for seam allowance, and then we can cut off that extra. And just so I can see the back, so my serger seam allowance depends how you have it set up. So the serger seam allowance could be 3/8, it could be a 1/4, it could be a 1/2 inch if you're using a safety stitch. Really depends. So always double check the width of your serge that you have set up so you know how much seam allowance to leave on your project. Because if you leave too much seam allowance, your project's going to end up too big. And if you don't add enough, your project might end up too small after all that hard work. So always double check the width of your serge stitch on your serger. Okay, back to cutting here. So I am going to leave 3/8 of an inch here. Okay, so now I've got that piece cut away. Now I'm going to turn this over to the back side. So when you're starting to upcycle, it can feel a little bit daunting cutting into clothes. You're not going to get that fabric back, etc. So, good rule of thumb, always measure twice, cut once. Measure 5 times and cut once. Just always make sure you are measuring, comparing the measurements to yourself, your own body, trying them on, getting a feel for the adjustments that you're creating before you cut into them. And also make sure you're starting with clothes that aren't your favorite clothes ever. So head over to the thrift store, go there on dollar day and just grab some stuff that you can play with. And then when you get real comfortable, go ahead and grab your favorite dress and make it fit you perfectly how you want, or cut it in two, add a new skirt to it. But always start with something that's not your favorite first, because you don't want to be scared and timid while you're working on your project. You want to have a lot of fun with it, because upcycling is so much fun. Okay, so now we need to get that sleeve in there. And just like we had before, way too small, right? So we're going to take it in. So let's flip this right sides together. What we can do as well is start clipping the sleeve, I should say. No pins in the serger. Clipping the sleeve at the top and kind of work your way down. And then we're going to see exactly how much extra we have that we need to take in. And this is assuming you have extra to take in on your shirt because it's too big. If you bought a shirt that it fits in perfectly, well, you can skip this step. You don't need this step. And if your knit right now was really starting to fall apart on you, you could always just run it through the serger to clean up the edge and hold it together. It's not going to hurt it if you get an extra row of serging stitches in there. Okay, almost at the underarm. There we go. Okay, so now I have my sleeve fit into the hole here, and I can see if there's extra large shirt, I need to take in about a 2-inch seam. So I'm going to take my chalk, I'm going to mark exactly where that is, and I have my shirt folded right at the side seam. So go ahead and mark that. Now I'm going to remove these 2 clips so that way nothing's in my way, so I don't get it caught in there in the serger. We got that blade on there, love it, but it can be a disaster if you get it caught in the blade. No good. Okay, so now it's fun stuff. We've taken the side of the shirt, and then we're going to put in that sleeve. So now we're doing a woven garment. So if we're doing a woven, taking up the side, you guys are asking about settings. I always just try my standard settings. If you're using the 600, the Amber Air 600, obviously you can select, if you're using woven light, woven medium, woven heavy, and it's going to automatically change some of the settings for you in your machine, which is amazing, right? It's kind of like a no-brainer. So I'm using like a woven light fabric. So I'm just going to make sure that I have my woven light settings on. I am using a 4-thread serge. So I always like to use a really nice strong serge 4 threads if I'm sewing together a seam. So let me know if you have more questions about changing tensions or stitch lengths or anything like that. Obviously, if it is gathering up your fabric, you need a lower differential feed. And if it's stretching it out like crazy and giving you wavy lines, then you need a bigger number. So bigger number is going to get rid of it if it is like waving it out real bad, like stretching it out. So hopefully that helps. I know understanding the differential feed can be a little tricky sometimes. Okay, so since this shirt was just real big for me, I'm just gonna take in that 2 inches all the way down the side of the shirt. So you can see there's my blue line right there, and that is where I want the seam to be. So that's where I want my left needle position. So my left needle position right now is right here, this little like notch on the foot. So I wanna line that up with the blue spot there. And now I'm gonna come all the way down the side of the shirt. Sometimes having a plaid to work with is really nice because it can help you keep it balanced. We can follow this plaid line all the way down the side of the shirt, just keeping everything nice and flat. If you notice your fabric starting to get bunched up here too, if you're cutting off a big piece, always stop and just pull it out of the way. You don't want it to get sucked into the inside of the machine here. That can really create some problems. Okay, so now we have the side taken in. Let's take a look at it. There we go, all serged up, taken in. And now check this out. So our sleeve is now going to fit into the hole. So now we can go back and add a few more clips. And I think when I'm done with this, I'm going to try it on so you can really see the difference between our transformation, the right and the left side, with a cool knit sleeve and without. Okay, so we have that all clipped in there, and now we're going to serge it together. And again, when we're serging something together, I always start at the underarm seam. And you want to watch this knit while you're serging it. Sometimes you might need to come in a little more if it's started to like unravel a little bit like right here. So sew/serge with the knit face up if you're doing a woven to a knit. Okay, get that in there. Put your foot down and you're sewing in a circle, serging in a circle. So just make sure you're not getting anything caught under the machine that shouldn't be there. Just gonna pull that over. Okay, off we go. When you get to these really bulky spots, go really slow because you don't want to break your needles on that. I'm actually gonna try and chop off a little bit of that there. If you go slow, your blade on the machine should just chop off that extra chunk if you have any. Okay, almost at the top. Okay, we've got this little spot here that's starting to undo, so I'm going to make sure that that sweater's over the edge a little bit. So we are chopping some off. Just keep working your way around the armhole. Always check it too. Make sure everything's going to be nice and flat. You're not going to end up with too much fabric in either the knit or the woven. Overlap your serge a bit and serge off. Okay, you guys ready? Okay, here we go. We did it. We have got this cool sleeve on this button up. Ah, I love it. Okay, let's take a look here. So big difference already, right? So we can really see the difference in how we've changed the style of this shirt we've actually taken up the shoulder here. So you can see how low the shoulder is on me here. So we took up the shoulder. We took in the side here so we could fit the sweater sleeve in here. Still nice loose fit on me. We just kind of, styled it up a little better. And we did it all with the serger, our scissors and our serger, just like that, right? So what a difference, right? Oh, we got a question. Okay. Needle size 4 versus 3 thread. More info about a lettuce edge. Needle position and how many threads? Needle size. You know, it's a really good question. I don't even know what needle size I have in my sewing machine Serger right now. I bet if we look at the needle pack, though, it'll tell me. I feel like I always use like a standard size 12 with like everything. I do not have a pack of needles in here. I have no idea what size needle I'm using. I bet it's a 12 though. I generally use like a 12 or a 14. Sometimes I generally don't use really thin needles and things. Sounds like someone behind me though. George is going to find out perhaps what size Serger needles we have right now for you. 4 versus 3 thread. Okay, so a 3 thread when you're sewing a seam together, my opinion, no good. Too weak. You really want that 4 thread. You want those 2 needle threads and you want the 2 threads wrapping the edge. It's just going to make it stronger. And your knit garments a lot of times are going to get a lot of wear and pull on the seams. So you want to make them as strong as you can. And if you have a 5 thread serger, your best bet is the 5 thread. If you have the Amber Air 600, it's a 5 thread serger. So set it up to your 5th thread and make all of your seams with a 5 thread serger. That's going to give you the strongest seam you could possibly have. You're just finishing the edge of a piece of fabric, 3 thread, great. Even a 2 thread, great. But sewing a seam together, highly recommend the 4 thread. Did you find a needle size, George? 12. Okay, it's confirmed. I'm using size 12 needles like I thought. It's just kind of my go-to. They always work great. They never really break on me or punch holes in anything. So I always use those. More info about a lettuce edge. Sure, we can set up and do, what time is it? We're doing good. And do a lettuce edge again. Or do baby rolled hem, making it a lettuce. Totally. Sure. Okay, so I feel like we did one sleeve on this one. I think we understand it. I don't think I need to do the other sleeve for you. I definitely will, and I'll put it on Instagram and Facebook so you guys can check out the final look of this. But I just really want to go over how to like tailor it up and get your serger in there and start like fixing things up. Cool, right? Okay, let's go back. Let's do the lettuce. Okay, so the lettuce hem. Serger, here we go. There's another serger. When you do the lettuce and you switch it over, it's 2 threads, right? We're putting the needle, let me see if I can pull this away for you guys. Okay, so we're leaving the right needle in. We're getting rid of the left needle. So we want the needle as close to the edge of the fabric as possible because we're looking for a very small, tight stitch, right? So if we had the needle on the left side, our stitch would be much wider. So we're leaving the needle on the right-hand side. My machine here also has an N and an R. The R, when I pull it back, you can kind of see in here, it lowers that little finger there. So this is also allowing the threads to be closer to the edge of the fabric, and it's almost going to make them like fold under just a little bit. You're not even going to notice it, but it is. And then you're also going to do pressure on your foot. So on the top of my machine, see if you guys can see me. You can't see the top of my machine over here. Okay. George, can you move my camera to face me over here a little bit? Or I might be able to move it. On the very, very top of the machine, you're going to have an option for putting like pressure on top of your foot. So you're going to want to make the pressure for the top of your foot as high as it can go. So we're getting max pressure on the foot. So that way it stretches it out while we're sewing it. It's going to stretch a little. We're also going to stretch a lot when we do it. So we've got the right needle in, and now what we need to do is close the upper looper. So the Amber Air 400 here, we close the upper looper by taking this little finger here, and we flip it up to the left, and we make sure it goes in the little hole of the upper looper. So we have closed off the upper looper completely. So we just have the lower looper thread and we have the right needle. And then you're going to want to take your stitch length, and on this machine we put it to R for rolled hem. If you don't have that on your serger, you just want to make it a very, very, very small stitch length. This is going to vary on different types of fabric. So you always want to test it out on a scrap. Okay, so we've got here, we'll use the same fabric we were using earlier. Let's get that blue fabric. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna put this jersey fabric in there, and when I do this, I'm gonna stretch it out in front of me, hold it in back, and then this is gonna give us like a max lettuce edge. That's what I like to call it. We're giving it as much ruffle as we possibly can. And it doesn't move very fast, but let it move as fast / as slow as it wants. Okay, let's check this out. Serge off. And check that out. We've got a really, really cool lettuce edge. I love the lettuce hem. It's one of my favorite things to do. Okay, looks like we got another question. Would you also use a 5-thread for knits and t-shirts? Yeah, you totally can. You need to double check your settings. It really depends on the fabric. You want to test it out. Super, super stretchy fabrics, it might be popping. You might need to get a different type of thread. You might want to use a woolly nylon. A woolly nylon is going to have more stretch to it. There's also all kinds of fun new threads on the market that have a bit more stretch to them. So if you are doing a 5-thread in a very stretchy fabric, you're going to want to make sure you really double check your settings on that specific fabric, play around with like some sample fabrics and your threads. So yes, you totally can. It will make it stronger. If you've got like a super stretchy bathing suit fabric, like a spandex or something though, you're probably going to want to stick with a 4-thread. Cool. Love the questions. Keep them coming. Questions are great. Okay. I also had one more inspiration for you guys that is really fun. So everything right now, I feel like it's kind of like half and half. Like, you know, this shirt, the t-shirt back here, we cut it into pieces, made it in half and half. The sleeves, changing them up, we're merging things half and half. Also, like we could do it with a button-up shirt, like a woven shirt. So this shirt over here, you can take 2 button-up shirts, literally cut them in half. We're going to serge them together. It does require some attention on the home sewing machine as well, just so that way you can go back and even out the hem. And then what's also going to happen when you do this, probably, maybe not always, say your buttons aren't going to line up unless they're the exact same size and from the same manufacturer. So I've got one button up here buttoned, but you'll notice that this button here is not going to line up with that buttonhole. But that's not a big deal. All you need to do is take off the buttons and like resew them on where the buttonholes are on this side. So that's a real easy fix. And then there's a really good chance the lengths, let's move that there so you can see, the lengths are going to be different. So then you just have to re-hem this bottom of the shirt basically. But this is really fun. Love this look. You could do BFF shirts or, you know, matching him and her shirts or something like that, matching partner shirts, I should say. So what I really like doing is finishing this back neck area with a piece of grosgrain ribbon, and then you can't even tell that you serged it up besides on the inside. So those two there are serged together, but on the back, can't even tell. It just looks like a high-end shirt with a little piece of like grosgrain ribbon there, right? So let's see that close up. Let's check it out. So you can, oh, wrong camera, Anastasia, right? Okay, there we go. Okay, so we've got that grosgrain ribbon covering that spot on the inside, and then you can see we've got these two serged together. It's kind of fun, cut right through the bonobos there. But on the back, you've got the grosgrain covering that, and it just looks like a theme. So you can get some really fun, funky designer runway looks by just like merging the clothes together. Love this. So we have 2 of them already cut. So let me grab those and I'll show you how to line those up, especially if you've got different colors from different brands, right? Okay. Okay, so we got half a shirt. We've got another half a shirt. And now we need to put these together. So we're going to do right sides together. And what you really want to look for lining up is the top edge of the collar. Line this up. We got pretty lucky on this one. The collar stand is the same length as well. The yokes on the back of the shirt are different lengths. Well, it's fine. You could look for yokes that are the same length, but I think that's totally fine in the look. Doesn't bother me at all. What you do want to be careful for looking when you're buying shirts, at least at the thrift store, is if you have like pleats in the back of the yoke, you want to be careful if there's a pleat at the center back because we're going to be cutting right through that. So I would try and avoid a shirt that has a pleat at the center back. And then let's just clip this up going all the way down. And then you're going to notice that they don't line up at the bottom. So this is what I was talking about before. The hems are different. They have that little baby rolled hem here. If you really wanted to do this all on the serger, you totally could. You could cut off the entire hem, serge it, flip it up. Well, here, let me go back. You flip it up and stitch it down. But you could totally cut it off and then flip it up and just cover stitch it. Why not, right? You're using the serger. You love the serger. 2 rows of stitching on the outside of a button-up shirt is not going to look bad at all. I would be curious to know how many of you have a serger that will do a cover stitch or have a separate cover stitch machine. I know when I'm demoing things a lot or doing videos, I never know if I should be cover stitching something, because people have cover stitch machines and they want to know where they should be using it more in their projects, or you don't have one, so, well, you don't want to watch me cover stitch something basically. Or maybe you don't have one, but you want to see how it's done and when you should use it and where you should use it. So I'd be curious to know if you guys have a cover stitch option for your serger or a separate serger. Okay, so now we are going to serge this together. Check it out. Okay, so we really want to make sure that these 2 layers do not move away from each other when we start. Sometimes one likes to pull more than the other. So what I like to do, lift up the foot, make sure your needles are up, get this project in there, and go ahead, put down the foot, and I'm going to bring the hand wheel towards me. Make sure that those needles are in the fabric so that way I can be sure it's through both layers and it's going to pull evenly. And then I feel comfortable that it's going to be lined up at the top. Ooh, did not like that thick seam. Scared me. Thought we were going to break a needle there. We got through it though. Ooh, we got another thick seam. This might be a project you want thicker needles on. Okay, we did it. Number 12, holding strong. Okay, you got a lot of fabric we're working with, so always just double check, make sure everything's nice and smooth while it's going into the serger. You don't have anything caught under there. We don't really want to be cutting off the shirt. We just want to be sewing it together with our serger and getting rid of all those little frayed bits. So you're going to notice that when I line up my fabric, it's always lined up with the blade there. So we're just cutting off the fuzzy bits. Okay, serge off, and let's take a look at it. Are you ready to see it? Okay, let's take a look. Woo! Look at that. It looks so good. I love it. I definitely have 2 of them now, and I think I need, you know, one for me, one for my husband. That'd be fun, right? That'd be a cute photo shoot. I dig that. Okay, so the whole reason that grosgrain ribbon was up there, because when we do this, look what happens. You get a serge on your back collar, and I don't love that. You could try doing a French seam on a regular sewing machine, but you know what? That involves a sewing machine. And then that gets really complicated. You got to clip it and flip it and only have a French seam on part of it, etc., etc. So that is why I love the grosgrain ribbon. Let me grab that. So that little dose of grosgrain ribbon here in the back, when it flips down, just gives it that really nice clean edge. So it's just getting rid of that little like serge spot there. Let's make sure you guys can see that. So we basically cover the serge with the grosgrain ribbon. You need to use your home sewing machine for that. One little step there. But you know what? I would love to know if you guys have any creative ideas for covering up the serge on the back collar of the shirt. I feel like we could put a different type of little ribbon on it. If you have a cover stitch, you could totally cover stitch this ribbon onto it. And then it is a complete serger project. Yeah, I would love to know if you have any ideas for covering up that little serge there on the back of the collar. Because I love the idea of merging these together, but just not that serge there. And obviously, if we're using a sewing machine, we could totally like seam rip all the seams, put all the seams on the inside and like reconstruct it. But that would be a lot of work. And we did it just like that on the serger. So gratifying, right? Let's see if any more questions here. Lots of people have the Amber Air as 600. Oh, that's awesome. Very good. So you guys do have a cover stitch. Okay. This is what I wanted to know. Awesome. So I'll probably do more cover stitch and videos and things then. And you definitely want to learn more about the cover stitch and when you use it. Great to hear. I love knowing that. Sometimes I'm afraid to show it because I'm like, oh, nobody's got it. Or I don't know. So now we know, right? Cool. How are we doing on time today? So much talking. Okay, I think we're getting close to like wrapping up. I think we've got like another 7 minutes left till the hour is up. So if anybody has any questions about the serger or a foot or any of the techniques I did today, just to recap, we went over merging the t-shirts together. What side are we on here? Merging the t-shirts together, changing out the sleeves, and sewing 2 button-up shirts together on the back to make it into one. And these are just a few fun, easy ideas that I wanted to share with you. Obviously, serging and upcycling, the possibilities are endless. I love serging like sweaters and mixing up sweaters and changing the necklines and the hems and the sleeves. With the serger, it's so easy to do. I love it. Do have a handful of YouTube videos out there using my Viking sewing machines. Sergers, I always call them sewing machines because I sew with them. Sergers for the sweaters, so definitely you could check out those if you want to know more about working with sweaters and the serger. Flat lock stitch. Oh yeah, totally. Using a flat lock stitch would be a great idea. I'll have to try that and see how that works out as well. And then we'll just have the visible stitch there and to look sporty. You could even do that with the t-shirts if you want to have that flat lock stitch here And then it would give it that like sporty look, having the flat lock there. Great idea. Very good. What was I saying? Yes, the Serger. They're great for upcycling. On Wednesdays, I actually teach an upcycling class. So tonight we have upcycling class, and we're going over sweaters, and we're going over pants and jeans and all the alterations and tailoring and upcycling ideas you could possibly do to pants. I just love upcycling. I think it's so fun to go through a wardrobe, change it up. Maybe some things don't fit anymore, too big, too small, or thrifting can be really fun to find things and merge them together. And, you know, it's a bit saving the planet, right? Upcycling, not having to buy new things, but getting new things. It's a win-win. Okay, you guys, let me know if you have any other questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining. It was really fun to share all these ideas and techniques with you today. And hopefully we will see you again for another upcycling adventure.